Hey folks, this is Russell Hughes from Hughes Realty Advisors. Welcome to another episode of Commercial Real Estate Theater. Today we're going to be talking about Amazon.com's HQ2 disaster and blow up. I'm going to try to keep this apolitical, but there are some politics involved, so just fair warning, this might get a little political at times. So what really happened with Amazon's disastrous decision to go to Long Island City and their decision to pull out of Long Island City in spite of some people's best efforts and some people's efforts to completely squash the deal? Well, let's start at the beginning. Amazon decided to make what should have been a very private site selection process very public for PR reasons. They decided to make it a national beauty contest in spite of the fact that, realistically speaking, they were always the same 6 markets that they had in their finals were always the same 6 markets. They were never going anywhere else. The rest of it was just a dog and pony show. And what happened is it backfired. It cost a lot of economic development groups a lot of money. A lot of people chased the business thinking that they could somehow land the coveted HQ2 spot. And in the process, the people of this country also started thinking about corporate welfare and whether or not it was good, beneficial, right, whatever you want to call it, to subsidize the largest corporation and the richest man on earth. Whatever your political persuasion, it's a fair question. So when they decided to go to New York, there were a couple of mistakes, again, that were made. They are represented by Jones Lang LaSalle, and I know the guys who represent them. I've worked with them before on this Zappos.com headquarters deal. Extremely intelligent people, extremely experienced people, but I don't think anyone bothered to think of this except in terms of real estate. The irony is that Seattle had just tried to slap a head tax on Amazon to pay for some of their homeless programs. And you would think of all companies out there that Amazon would be in the best position possible to fully understand the political ramifications of going to a place like New York. You combine that with the fact that the neighboring district just elected someone who isn't colloquially called a socialist. She's a socialist. She actually calls herself a socialist. She's proud of it. So you kind of were jumping out of the frying pan and into the fire with that one. So what else happened? You had a very opaque process that excluded local stakeholders in Long Island City and the City Council of the 5 boroughs of New York, and went with the state, the governor, the mayor of New York, doing a very opaque process to come up with the incentives and the package for Amazon. You combine that with the fact that people were really beginning to question whether or not this is even appropriate to subsidize a company the size of Amazon in this manner, not just in New York, but nationally. They were having this question come up, and it was inevitable that there was going to be local resistance. Now, what was really on the table was $3 billion of tax incentives, tax rebates that were coming out of payroll taxes from the employees that were going to be employed by Amazon. The other incentives are existing incentives that anyone can take advantage of. Anyone moving to certain parts of Long Island City, Queens, different parts of the boroughs that they have determined are in need of some assistance in drawing people to those places. And those are the $3,000 per employee tax credits, as well as capital market tax credits as well. And those tax credits have existed, and they existed in downtown after 9/11. They go back a long time. They are nothing new. They are nothing that were specifically put in place for Amazon. They're something that any company can take advantage of. That said, no one bothered to have that conversation. No one bothered to outline what the incentives were, where they came from, what exactly they were, and subsequently you had a socialist from Queens who was very loudly denouncing the economic incentives and she had a rife audience. New York is obviously extremely liberal. So what is the lesson here? What am I trying to get at? I'm not trying to bash AOC or socialists or New York or Amazon. The thing is the smarter you are, the more likely you are to wind up in an echo chamber of your own ideas. No one was bothering to say, hey, Amazon, you just went through this problem with a socialist in the city council in Seattle where they tried to slap a head tax on you. Are you sure that New York is the best environment for you? And no one bothered to kind of balance out the advantages with the disadvantages. Also, I don't believe that anyone bothered to look at the new tax law and think to themselves, okay, with the state and local taxes being as high as they are in New York, the chances are that when people do their taxes this year, they're going to be running away from New York, especially computer science people who can go anywhere, who can go to Nashville, who can go up to Boston, which is a much more business favorable environment, who can get paid tons of money to go to Silicon Valley and be on that sinking ship for a little while. There were a lot of options, and I don't believe anyone properly vetted them. I don't know what the full thought process was regarding New York. I probably never will, but make sure there is a skeptic in the room. Make sure that anytime you're evaluating a site selection process, and there is at least one person in the room who thinks it's a bad idea and can clearly define why they think it's a bad idea and why they should go in a different direction. Just be intellectually honest. It'll save a ton of money, a ton of embarrassment, and unfortunately, I don't think very many headquarters are going to be looking at New York anymore and thinking, yeah, that's a good idea. I want to put myself through that. And Amazon dinged what was otherwise a sterling reputation by getting greedy and making it all about Amazon through that beauty contest. Don't do things in an echo chamber. Think them through. That's all I got to say on the matter. Hope this helps for people to understand what exactly went down. There's a lot of stories about that. This is Russell Hughes from Hughes Realty Advisors. We bring Fortune 100 experience to the middle market. Hope you're having a great new year so far, and we'll see you next time on Commercial Real Estate Theater.